on that first day when we made our first sale, June 2nd, 2018. It was hot on that bus. We had like floor fans in there trying to blow, give us a little bit of air. We're in the middle of summer. It's super, super hot, super humid out, and we're rolling ice cream.
The product won't physically roll if it's too hot. I honestly think it may have been our third or fourth event. We had to leave the event early because the ice creams wouldn't roll. So we have this long line, family, friends, people we don't know showing up to the events, and we're embarrassed. We're like, wow, the ice cream's not rolling. What's going on?
Welcome everyone to How I Made My First Dollar. My name is Netta Dobbins and I am your host. And today I have some amazing guests that I feel like I'm like their big sister. I've seen them grow up, not only in business, but just as individuals. So I'm super excited to have them on and for you all to hear their phenomenal story about how they built their business and how they made their first dollar. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll start with Maliyah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maliyah. I'm one of the co-owners and co-founders of Road Forever Ice Cream. I am a graduate of MTSU. I have a degree in biology, and I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bari. I'm one of the other co-owners of World Forever Ice Cream. I'm a Nashville native, and I graduated from Belmont University with the degree in international business.
I'm super excited because not only are these women amazing businesswomen, but they're also just smart. Many listeners, many people just in general dream of escaping the corporate 9 to 5 world to go into entrepreneurship. And I know that you two are fairly young and you jumped head on into entrepreneurship a bit earlier than most, right? So I want to hear more about, like, Maliyah, you have a degree in biology. Bari, you have a degree in international business. What were y'all doing before you decided, hey, let's go all in on an ice cream shop?
So I was actually working in clinical research. I was taking a gap year because I was preparing to apply to dental school. So that is the track that I was on before jumping straight into entrepreneurship.
And for me, I was working in HR at a healthcare company at the time on my way to climb the corporate ladder. And then me and my best friend, Maliyah here, came up with a cool idea.
So let's talk about that too, because we didn't say earlier that y'all are best friends, but they are Nashville natives. They're best friends. They've known each other forever. So talk to me about, Maliyah is doing clinical research. Bari, you're in HR. Both are very structured. I need to wear business casual or business professional to work. Like, I'm in my zone. And then we shifted to something that's fun and light, which is an ice cream shop, a rolled ice cream shop. Talk to us about where this idea even came from.
Yeah, so we were on a spring break trip our junior year of college. Rolled ice cream was trending on Instagram at the time. Barry always usually puts our itineraries together when we travel. So she sent me literally like 20 plus videos of rolled ice cream. So it was a must to do while we were in New York. We traveled to New York, get there, the line is wrapped around the building. So we try the ice cream, and basically after we tried it, we were like, this is so cool. We should bring it back to Tennessee. At the time, there were no road ice cream shops in Tennessee, but we were still in college. So we left New York saying that if we were to do this, we would do it better.
So this was before y'all graduated, before you even got into corporate America. You had been sowing seeds of, we want to do a rolled ice cream shop. Talk to me about, I guess, some of those first steps, like when you said, okay, Barry, or okay, Maliyah, let's actually try this out. What did that look like while you were still in corporate America?
So I think, Maliyah, correct me if I'm wrong, we would talk every day, like after work, and just say how unfulfilled we were with our corporate jobs. And we kind of went back to the idea of rolled ice cream when we're in New York. We're like, that would be so cool if we just brought it here. At the time, Maliyah's church had a bus that they were selling for $1,500. And we thought that this would be a great opportunity to jump on something and just try it out. $1,500, you can't beat that. So we ended up getting the bus, and her parents also own a food truck and operate a food truck, and they have been doing it for a while. So they helped us along the way. So we're like, this is kind of a match made in heaven. So let's just try this out and see how it goes. Still keep our jobs, let it fuel the business idea and see just where it takes us.
So, okay, we got the truck. We're like, yeah, $1,500. We're gonna do rolled ice cream. We're still gonna work corporate. What was the moment where you were like, we can't do both of these? We're making enough money to sustain the business right now. What was that shift? When did you notice that it was time to bet all on yourself?
So I don't think we mentioned, but we are the first rolled ice cream food truck in Tennessee. Snap, snap, snap. Yeah. So the demand was very high. I was answering calls in the conference room while I'm supposed to be writing contracts. We're taking off for work and having our computers on the food truck while we're working. So we just came to the conclusion that if we wanted to see where this business could go, we had to jump all in. And we were both living with our parents at the time. So I think that's something notably to mention because we had no bills. So we were able to bet on ourselves with the support of our parents. We actually fasted for 40 days before we quit our job. And with the fast, we were just praying that this was the right decision. This is where God wants us to be. After those 40 days, we quit our job and we were booked for the whole month of April. Like our first month that we went out full time, we were completely booked.
Talk to me about, I guess, how your corporate skills translated into the business skills to running your business. Because you both have two completely different backgrounds, corporate backgrounds, right? I guess like this question is for both of you, but I want to start with Bari, international business. We're running a business, right? How did you see some of the things that you were doing in corporate America translate into the business that you were building?
So being in HR, obviously, ins and outs, hiring, firing, onboarding, all of that good stuff. Now in the business, I can definitely see the translation to it just because, for one, we're hiring a lot of people, we're interviewing, doing all those things. I was specifically in the e-learning part of HR, so I didn't do a lot of the laws and stuff like that. I think it's kind of funny because, again, I got a business degree, but I didn't take the entrepreneurship class serious at all. I literally took the minimum amount that I needed to graduate to get up out of there, but that wasn't like on my mind. So there are nuggets that I have seen that have translated over to running a business. But again, since I wasn't so focused on entrepreneurship while I was in school, I didn't really pay attention to it as much. You're trying to get that grade and get up out of there, get out those people's way. But I will say that it definitely translates. So from like laws, so different structures of the business, how you're supposed to run the business, different things that you're supposed to incorporate, just all of those things definitely translate over. Accounting, finance, all of that stuff plays a role in the bigger picture of a business.
Maliyah, we've had conversations on the side where like everything is science, everything is science. So talk to me, I guess, about perfecting the rolled ice cream formula. Like, does that relate back to some of the things that you learned in either undergrad or in your corporate job? Like, how did y'all figure all of that out?
So for the formula, it was definitely research. So I would consider myself a researcher. So just having to research what goes into the base, how we can make our base stand out, make it different. But I will honestly say that Barry is the chief product officer. So she deals with the formula. For me, it's more of actually making the ice cream. So the Roll Academy, for instance, we're teaching the science of rolled ice cream and how with our ice cream, if when you put it on the plate, it reduces the ice crystals that are in the ice cream. So relating that to science and showing that our ice cream is a lot smoother and creamier because of the reduced ice crystals. So just being able to translate that over. And my background with clinical research, I did a lot of contracts and I had to negotiate contracts and build relationships. And that's all translatable to having a business.
So let's talk about starting with the food truck because I think that that is a strategic move. People feel like if I quit my job today, everything has to be 100% ready to go how I imagine it before I can leave. Talk to me about some of the initial challenges you faced with starting with a food truck, and then tell me about your very first sale. So two-part questions. Let's start with the very first sale, and then we can talk about challenges.
So the very first sale, wow, I will never forget that. It was on June 2nd, 2018. We had our very first food truck event. At the time, it was a food truck park. We had another food truck that was there, and there were goats. Why I remember the goats, I have no idea, but they did goat yoga at the food truck event. And we sold out. We sold out before the event ended. People were coming up to the truck like, "Are you sure you can't give us any ice cream?" And we're like, "No, we literally have no more base to make the product." We were exhausted, but I remember that day we made what we would make in 2 weeks working at our corporate job. So we were like, "Oh wow, like this might be something, you know?" So it felt good. It was very empowering, and it was obviously a demand for the product. It was enjoyable seeing people eat our product and actually want more. We had several people that day buy 1 cup of ice cream and come back. So we're like, "Oh, y'all are really liking the product."
That. And talk to me about challenges, because I guess that in itself is it's a good challenge, right? We're going to our event. It's our very first food truck event. We sold out, but people want more. And we're like, this is great, but how do we make sure we have enough product for the future, right? That's one challenge. Talk to me about some additional things that y'all faced when figuring out how to operate the food truck, figuring out how to keep your life and your business schedules together.
So I will say one challenge as well is that obviously Maliyah said that we were the first rolled ice cream truck in Nashville, in Tennessee. So with that, we didn't have a blueprint really. We didn't know how to get the machines, how to put the machines, like just the way to structure the actual truck in itself. So doing that and having the blueprint for that was like also very challenging. Again, Maliyah's parents, they own a food truck as well. So we had different resources through them to help us mitigate through some of the challenges as well. But again, we didn't know what we were doing from down to design to logo, going back and forth. Like, okay, what do you think that people would like? What resonates with us and like what we want our brand to be. And again, not doing this before. For me, this was like something totally new. I was like a fish out of water. I'm like, I just thought we had a good idea, went to New York, tried the ice cream, and we want to bring it back to the people in Nashville. So I will say that was a challenge. Also, it was hot on the bus. So now, we have an air conditioner. We've upgraded a lot of things just through the process of working on the food truck since the beginning. But again, on that first day when we made our first sale, June 2nd, 2018, it was hot on that bus. We had like floor fans in there trying to blow, give us a little bit of air. We're in the middle of summer. It's super, super hot, super humid out, and we're rolling ice cream. What else was a challenge? I feel like there were so many different obstacles.
I was going to say, it's aside from it being hot on the bus, it's also challenging to roll while it's hot on the bus. The product won't physically roll if it's too hot. So just having to position the bus to where you're not directly in the sun. I honestly think it may have been our third or fourth event. We had to leave the event early because the ice creams wouldn't roll. So we have this long line, family, friends, people we don't know showing up to the events, and we're embarrassed. We're like, wow, the ice cream's not rolling. What's going on? So just doing research on a product that is not really here and having to figure out, I guess that's where the science of it comes from, of how the ice cream will actually roll. And I would also say when we started with the food truck, having the funds to start. So originally our idea was to go to a bank and get money. Well, they're looking at us like, no, ma'am. So we had to figure out how to fund it ourselves. So Bayer and I are working our 9 to 5 jobs using those checks to fund the food truck, asking our parents for help, asking our grandparents for help. So honestly, thankfully, we have families who really support us and who believe in our dreams because they were really willing to give us their dollars to fund our business.
I want to just give some context around the business loan part, because I also think that a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand that aspect. When you go get a business loan, you want to show that you have already made money, and this money is going to help you expand. most of the time the money isn't for you to get off the ground, right? They want to know that they can make their money back. I think that when we're thinking about funding, we're like, I'm going to go get a loan and I'm going to do all this stuff because the bank's going to give me money and it's going to be enough for me to launch. When in reality, that's not exactly how it works. We'll talk about that a little more on a different podcast, but just wanted to give some more context to that and to why Maliyah was like, banks don't do that. So 2018, we have the truck. We've been ups and downs on the truck. The truck that you have now, is this still the church truck?
Yes,
It's
it is.
still rolling.
Still rolling. I love that. And I love that because it's something that we started out with. It wasn't perfect. But for 2018 to 2024, we've made modifications. We've grown. It's grown with us. That's like a staple part of your business, right? So congratulations on that. I want to talk about getting your physical store now, which is huge. Walk us through that journey, because I know how complex it was to actually find a store that you liked and kind of bet on yourself to take it into a physical location.
So I'll start with saying that we didn't even necessarily desire having a store. We were originally approached with being in a store. And then after that first approach, several people kept approaching us, but all of the approaches fell through. So Barry and I are like, okay, well, we obviously need a store. Everyone's approaching us about getting a store. Let's get a store. So originally, we were actually working on getting a store that was on 3rd Avenue, a street over from where we currently are. We were in the process of building it completely out, ground up, and it just wasn't working. So one day we got a random call saying that we actually have a restaurant on 4th Avenue. Would you guys be interested? We're like, wow, 4th Avenue, roads forever. It was everything just worked out. So getting the store was a challenge, trying to find the location that we wanted because we were very specific with where we wanted to be, who we wanted to serve. So several qualifications, but I'm glad that we had those qualifications because it allowed us to have an easy yes when that time came.
So you said that things fell through. And it was pretty vague, but I want to hit on it a little bit more. We don't have to go into too much details, but oftentimes things don't go as we plan, right? We can have this big vision and then something happens and we have to reimagine a vision or reiterate the vision, but the goal is still the same. So talk to us a little bit about what fell through and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so we were actually approached by a huge development, and I believe it was 2019 that was prepared to break ground in fall of 2020. So the development, the hospitality group that brought it here, they're also in several other areas, and it's very, very successful. So we were extremely honored, happy, proud to be the chosen like exclusive ice cream vendor. So because of that, that's what we had our mindset on. We signed a LOI. We didn't sign any other LOIs or look for anything else because we were preparing ourselves for that particular time. Well,
what's the LOI?
Sorry, letter of intent. So a letter of intent is basically the letter that you sign before you get the actual contract. So it's letting you know that this is what the intention on the final contract essentially is going to be. So most of the times when you get an LOI, it is solidified. And to be honest, we have been told that we could have sued the company, but at the time we weren't knowledgeable on that. So here we are now, and everything works out the way that it's supposed to work out. But they told us a month before we were supposed to pay our first deposit that we were no longer the ice cream vendor. So we were very devastated because we had turned down a lot of things and we're preparing for this particular development to come. That's what led us to actually wanting a store because the development was going to cater towards tourism. When we had the food truck, we were just catering to our community. That's what our focus was on. But when the development came, we're like, oh, it brought us back to those two girls that were in New York. And we're like, oh, we should also focus on tourism.
So, we had this amazing opportunity with this amazing development so we could focus on tourism. We ended up not being able to go forth with that opportunity. What was the next step? Like, yes, we're devastated. We're how old? 23, 24, right? What was the next step in launching you to where you are now?
So I think after that, like Maliyah said, that we were devastated. We had turned down a lot of opportunities, and we had actually kind of stopped like our search within looking for a location, just because we were banking on that one. And there was also some stipulations in that LOI that we couldn't do or like overstep. So we were just like, hey, let's just be here. We're going here. Let's not even look anymore. So when we did get that no, it was like, oh wow, we have to go back to the drawing board. So we were so exhausted with the process and just going back and forth. And then, like Maliyah had mentioned, we had got a call. So we weren't even particularly looking at this specific location that we currently have. So we got the call, visited the location, and we thought it was great. We were just like, it's in a prime location. It's literally a street over from the place that we were going to build ground up. Same location, good area in Nashville, still around a lot of tourists, still super close to downtown. So during that time, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air, like, hey, this big thing that we had before fell through, it didn't work out, but God gave us something else. And so this is obviously what's for us. So let's go ahead and roll with it. So just overcoming that and like also staying positive within that time period, because there's so many different avenues that we could have done. We could have been like, hey, forget the shop, we're not even worried about that anymore, like we're so down about this. But we didn't let that consume us. We kept rolling, kept going out with the truck, kept trying to get our brand out there, and things came to us that were really good. So, and now we're here.
And then Maliyah, earlier you had said we're Roll Forever, it's on 4th Avenue. I don't think that a lot of people understand the significance of the number 4. I didn't know that until I worked with y'all. So give us a little bit more context around why you all thought that was a sign.
My birthday is September 4th, and Barry's birthday is October 4th. So the 4 is significant to us. When we bought our food truck, it had the number 4 on it. So when we got the call saying that it was on 4th Avenue, we were like, oh, well, obviously this is God letting us know that 4 is significant to us.
I love it. I love it. So we started with the food truck. We got a brick and mortar location, 4th Avenue, Germantown, which is a bustling area in Nashville, Tennessee. And then we were like, we're killing it. Let's expand. So we opened a store in Smyrna, Tennessee, which is about 30, 45 minutes away from the Nashville location. But later on, we had to close down that location, right? Talk to us about the idea of expanding and then what decision or what happened to make you all say, okay, not right now.
So the decision to expand in our industry, having multiple locations is like that dream idea. Like, okay, let's pop up with several different locations to serve several different communities at once. So that was kind of like the vision. Where we moved to in Smyrna is where Maliyah and I grew up. We went to Bari High School, graduated from there, which was like 5 minutes or less away from our second location. We also started in Rutherford County with the food truck. So that's where like our base of customers were when we originally started. So we're just like, okay, let's take it back home in a sense and give a space for where we grew up and the people who we started with. So we were just thinking like, hey, we do good in the food truck in Rutherford County and out this way. So, hey, I think that brick and mortar will be perfect out here. And to be honest, throughout that process, it was a simple, like kind of easy process. Maliyah, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we saw the listing, called them, and it was kind of like, hey, you guys can get in. The realtor and the landlord was super intrigued with our business plan, our business model, and thought this would be great on Sam Ridley, which is where the location was. And we were just like, hey, this is a lot easier than all the other like brick and mortars that we've tried to give in Nashville and just going back and forth, things falling through. It was kind of like, hey, this is yours to take, basically. And so we're just like, this might be a good thing, good idea. And I think that our reasoning behind it, we had good intentions going out there, but I don't think, one, we did enough research, and two, I think that we just should have waited. I think that we kind of got trigger happy and was like, okay, let's do it. This is kind of easy. It's going a lot smoother than the Nashville location. But I don't think that we took a step back just to kind of get an overview of like, hey, this might not be for us right now. We just got the Nashville location running and in a good workflow and everything. So let's not add too much on our plate. And also at the same time, again, it's just me and Maliyah, and we're also running a food truck. So 2 brick and mortars plus a food truck, and we're the only ones who are doing everything pretty much outside of our employees. So I just think it was too much. And again, like I said, we didn't do as much research. So now we know that tourism is a really big thing for our business. That those are the people who come and really patronize our business a lot. And you don't get a lot of tourism out in Rutherford County. Like you said, it's 30 to 45 minutes away from the city. So most people just aren't traveling out there.
So I think the idea is like, this is easier. This came to us, but did we look at operations? Did we look at finances? Did we look at our internal bandwidth? Is it something that we are actually ready for? Because even like every opportunity that's presented to you could be amazing, but it might not be good for now. I think the benefit of the opportunity was like, if you want to do this, it's yours. But now you know exactly the steps that you need to take to make it fruitful. All right, so we are winding down. We've talked a lot about perseverance with y'all's story, I feel like, which I love because once again, I feel like I'm in the front seat of seeing y'all grow. So the last thing I want y'all to do is give one piece of advice, a quote, whatever it is for an entrepreneur or a small business owner who may be thinking about taking the leap on themselves.
This is my new one that I love. So I feel like a lot of times, like in business, we are kind of scared to fail. But honestly, like if you fail fast and you get that over with and you know what you need to do to move forward, it's easy to just keep going.
And I would piggyback off of that and say, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think as entrepreneurs, as small businesses, sometimes you get into that little box of like, oh, I don't want people to know I'm struggling, or oh, like I just don't know what to ask, or I don't know who to ask, but just ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help and don't wait so long and get so deep in a hole or in the thick of it. And then it's like really, really hard to climb out of it. If you have a question, try to seek help or seek the resources that you can ask so that you can lean on that.
Love that. Let the audience know where they can stay connected with you, where they can come shop with you, all the things.
Yeah, so our location is located in historic Germantown, 1120 4th Avenue North, Suite 102. We're the cute pink building. And then you can find us on Instagram, all social media platforms, actually at rolled the number 4 ever ice cream. My personal Instagram is queen.mb.
And my personal Instagram is miss_Bari, Bari.
Thank you both so much for being on this podcast. You know how much I adore you. I think this story is super important when we think about, once again, perseverance, making your way through it, the stumbling blocks you're going to take on your way to being a successful entrepreneur. So I really appreciate your time and I can't wait to continue to see you all shine.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everybody.